What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast, your number one resource for all that is happening across the emerging tech space. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. Today, I'm joined by another wonderful guest, Arjun. He is the CEO and co-founder of Cloaked, a privacy-first tech company revolutionizing the way people control and secure their personal data. Arjun, welcome to the show, man. It's a pleasure to have you here today. How you doing?
Appreciate it. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. Pleasure's all mine. Excited to chat with you today. And I think the best way to kick this off before diving into Cloaked would also be to learn a bit more about you, if you don't mind telling us a bit about your background and what kind of pulled you into this side of the space in terms of privacy and data protection. What kind of led to and spawned the idea for Cloaked and kind of piqued your interest?
For sure. I'll say I've always been a little bit curious about privacy. I think I've become a lot more deeper, say kind of below the iceberg now. Like way back in '06, I remember when Facebook started coming out, I actually had a false name on Facebook. 'Cause I was like, this Facebook thing is actually pretty cool, but what if one day Facebook becomes this big company and everyone starts using our data? And everyone's like, "Oh, Arjun, you're silly." And now saying that out loud, people would say, "What? That's exactly what the world is today." But so I've always been privacy curious, I'd say. And then back in 2020, I was really curious about my own data, what my data looked like, where to live, what's going on with it. I'm very technical, so I've been a technology leader, been a product leader across big companies and small companies, and so I just always been aware of all the different data points that go around systems. And so I decided to build my own personal AI model, one that studied my healthcare data, my eating habits, my workout habits, my text messages, my calls, my movements, everything I could find about myself. I collected and put in this box. And I wrote some really crude stuff back then that just looked at this data and gave me some interesting insights. And I gave it the ability to act as much as it could. And so very quickly, it started telling me, "Hey, you missed your workout yesterday. Do 15 push-ups in these 2 meetings." Based on my spending habits, it said, "Let's cut back on the alcohol and Chinese food." But one day, without me realizing it, my own really personal AI had a full conversation with my then girlfriend. It told her, "I love you." It sent her memes and went back and forth on me and realizing it. And it was in this moment where I was not doing this to kind of automate this part of my life, but I realized we were headed into this AI-led future. If I could do this with data and things in 2020, is all pre-open AI. I was like, well, what is the world going to head towards? And I knew it's going to be very AI first, AI enabled, but there's going to be a big question around how do we think about our personal security, our personal privacy, because ultimately we'll want this AI, these businesses, technologies to be more personal to us, but it shouldn't be at the cost of our privacy or at a feeling where we're compromised every step of the way. So I said, let's figure out a strong solution to security and privacy, and let's put people at the center, at the forefront. And that's what led to starting off Cloaked.
Nice. Yeah, the internet's a wild place. I feel exposed to it every single day and all the different data hacks that are going on and the attack vectors that are out there and all the different scams and spams. And it's pretty crazy. Like there's so much that needs to be fixed
There's
and
a
cleaned
lot.
up still.
And I think there's a partial of being cleaned up. There's issues in the moment. We see the scams. And then there's the big overlooming question, well, how do I get better? Like, how do I make sense of all this? Especially where most of us might care, but there's not a really strong understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely. And I assume that's where Cloaked comes in too, in terms of your personal data and building out some solutions around that. What would you say is your maybe core mission at Cloaked in terms of accomplishing this?
Yeah, so I think the core mission where we've always aligned was like, how do we put people in control of their data and their identity? The idea that we feel is that there should be a way to help clean up your past, defend your present, and protect your future. And how do you do that in one solution? Because today, to do something like that, you have to download 12 different tools, pay for a bunch of different software. And when you combine your families into it, it becomes really complicated. And it's kind of by design, where privacy security has always been a very enterprise function, but at the end of the day, it's all about people. So that's really a Cloaked has been focused on how do we think about personal data where people can really truly own it. But we're not living in a world where we say, hey, let's stop using all the Googles, the Facebooks of the world. Let's find a better answer, because it's not about hiding and deleting from everything. It's about changing your relationship with technology where you can keep using Instagram, but you can feel less bad that everything about you being swallowed up everywhere you go.
Absolutely. And I think people need to have a better relationship with this type of technology and understanding it a bit better. There seems to be like this weird dichotomy where people understand that the risk exists, but they don't care too much for whatever reason about the problem. And it kind of just persists and then they continue to expose themselves. And before diving into the solutions, maybe we can expand on the problem a bit further because I think it's important. Maybe you can touch on why people should be caring about these things and maybe some of the ways it impacts them, like some of the potential vectors that are common out there where people get exposed, maybe both for not just people, but also for companies, because I know that companies are also very susceptible in a lot of different ways. How would you best explain that problem as its importance?
For sure. So I think the privacy problem is always an interesting one to talk about, where people on one hand is say, isn't it dead? And businesses say, do people care about it? I think the reality is that some of these truths may have been true 10 years ago, but there's a completely different world now, especially AI enabling some innate feelings. So starting with people, what we've really learned is that people do care. And it comes this idea that when you're signing up online, you're asked to give out your phone number, email, or put a password in. When you're going ahead and having to give up all your permissions for contacts, and people starting to unplug their Alexas in their own home, there is a slight feeling. And kind of making the case, why is it important for people? For those who still don't know, 1 in 4 Americans, I think it's getting to 1 in 4. It used to be like every 22 seconds, but last year alone, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Americans were compromised every 22 seconds, and it's moving towards every 7 seconds. So it's there's some sort of compromising event happening so often, and that puts you at risk for identity theft, financial fraud, emotional manipulation, actually having scams that can hurt not just you but your loved ones. So there's always this risk that leads into financial, personal, emotional harm. But there's also a deeper side of this where I don't want to get too much into philosophy of this, but we use data, we use flashy images, we use thumbnails, we use your browsing habits or usage habits to control what you see, what you hear, what you do. And that's what companies do. Like when I say we, I mean not we're on the side of Cloak trying to help put you in control, but we in terms of a collective technology group, people who are building and coding technology, are unfortunately the systems are built around data exploitation, data harvesting, data targeting. And this idea of where fine if you don't care about people knowing your data, but also it leads into either emotional moods and patterns that you fall into. It also leads into the kind of cold cut truth where things start costing differently. My Uber rides cost differently than somebody else's, not because not necessarily the time of day, but even the same time of day, because they know I might spend more or that person might spend less. And your life is kind of being controlled by your data. And so, and there's really easy patterns to change that. You can start with saying no. When TikTok launches and they want access to all your contacts so they can find your friends on TikTok, well, maybe you don't need TikTok's help to find your friends. Maybe you don't need to share all the contacts. And step by step, these things won't disrupt your experience, but it'll make you actually feel like you're in control of what's going on. And then, obviously, at Cloak, we're trying to find ways to give you tools that can make it even better and easier. But when you turn into businesses, well, we say, well, if consumers will start doing that, how do I play a role? Because I do need this data. Well, what the reality is that people are willing to share aspects of themselves, what their current interests are, what they're currently trying to buy, what they're hoping to kind of aspire towards, all these different attributes, but they don't want to share everything. It should be selective. So if a business can figure out, and this is our long-term vision, a better relationship with the person, they'll actually share more personal, more relatable data versus it's sounding like 30 people standing behind me watching everything I do. But in the cold truth today, what can businesses do about it? Well, the answer is that every dollar you invest in business, you actually get about more than $2 return. So the idea is that it's actually profitable to think about how do you invest in brand trust, brand safety, and consumer personal privacy and consumer personal security, because it actually builds a better relationship with your business, and the customers transact more, they build better relationships, they trust you more, they refer you more. So privacy actually will make you more money if you think thoughtfully about your relationship with your customer and your customer's data.
Arjun, I know you also mentioned earlier newer technologies like AI, for example, and obviously LLMs have kind of taken the world by storm the last couple of years. And you also mentioned IoT and all these different devices like Apple HomePod and Alexa and whatnot that also take in data. I'm curious, like some of these newer technologies, maybe some of the opportunities for both. I wouldn't say opportunities, but some of the use cases for a bad actor, but also for protection of data. I could see a lot of things kind of going both ways, and maybe you could touch on some of that and what some of those newer technologies, the role they could kind of play and relate to when it comes to privacy and data going forward.
For sure. I think there's a lot of technologies listed. So from AI to IoT, we talk about also, I know, big audience here about blockchain and crypto. All these often, one bedrock is, including AI, everything's built upon data, right? So that is the core foundational layer. So when it comes down to privacy security, it's a big challenge because all these systems are very data enabled. And I think when you're looking at all these technologies, AI, super exciting, comes in now so many different forms, and it's going to be more and more integrated in our lives. And I think the way we should look at this is that don't we shouldn't be afraid to use these things. We should be a little bit careful about how we bring ourselves to the table. So across these all these technologies, how do you bring ourselves, our identity, the different attribute of ourselves? Like how do you bring that? And I think it means, do you give your name all the time? Do you give aspects of your behavior, like who you are, your personal life? I know a lot of people thinking about using AI or use AI for even therapy. I think you could use it, but then don't reveal certain things that could come back to who you are. When you're thinking about TikTok, you say like, well, fine. I'm not saying don't go delete TikTok, but I think the answer is, well, do I give all my information there? Now, when you think about technology like the blockchain, I think the blockchain is a fascinating piece of infrastructure technology. Challenge is that you create a permanent distributed ledger that can never go away. So be careful of attaching your name to a transaction or a piece of information to a data because it will never go away. And you've now, people say the word doxed, but you've revealed aspects of yourself. And even if there's protocols, we talk about things like Solana, that very privacy security forward. But the thing is, your usage, your habits, let's say you're transacting on the same website over and over again for $7, $8. Well, the challenge with that is that people might discover who you are. In the future of when you think about crypto, let's say we can bring crypto everywhere. Even if you have private payments, if I go to CVS and I buy things with crypto in some future, the challenge is that drug prices are public, product prices are public. You could actually figure out who you are from just your purchases. So being a little aware when you're using technologies about your usage, your interests, your information all comes back to you. And you say, well, why does that matter? Well, it can hurt you, it can manipulate you, it can actually cost you more money. So being able to always come back to you doesn't help you always. But you should feel free to give versions of who you are in different situations. Because I think we shouldn't be afraid of the technologies we're trying to jump into. It should be about how much you're connecting. Even things with IoT, I say I have my smart switches, etc. But my smart switch accounts are all cloaked. I have a cloaked email, cloaked phone number, cloaked generated password because I don't want to connect my actual identifiers because now this IoT device made in some under the country, some adversary. Now that'd be tracking, watching. You might have heard about these cameras where all the feeds were publicly exposed. So trying to avoid tying back aspects, but still allow you to purchase IoT devices. That's the way I approach the problem. It's like shouldn't stop doing things, but being a little bit more aware makes you a bit smarter when you're trying to jump into new things.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. I think people should always be more mindful of the data that they're providing to these devices, to software, to tech, especially new tech that's coming out. Data is the new oil, they like to say, of the internet, and it's everywhere and it's important. So, being mindful of what you put out there is probably very important. Or, it'll always get your ice cream flavor wrong, I like to
Oh,
say.
absolutely. Yes. The thing is that you might get the ice cream flavor wrong, but it'll know that you want ice cream at 3 p.m. And that's what's scary sometimes.
Oh yeah, like I hate it when I'm on one device and I click on a reel of a Coca-Cola ad or something. Then all of a sudden, for the next 5 days, all I see is soda and Coca-Cola. It is creepy.
It's a little creepy. And what's sad is that some people may want to see some Coca-Cola stuff, but the challenge is that there's no optionality where you can see it or you don't want to see it. It's just I will see what the world wants me to see.
Yep. I guess that's just the age we kind of live in. But I also want to dive into some of the features and solutions of Cloak too that users can take advantage of. So I was looking at them and they're very interesting, and I want to implement some of them myself as well. And I made a note of some of them that I think would be interesting to cover, but I'm not sure. Maybe there's some others that maybe you feel like are good to highlight. But like the data removal and call guard. There's one for numbers and email aliases, ID theft insurance. I thought was pretty cool. What can you say about some of those, but also others that are really key to your guys' ecosystem?
Absolutely. And I actually love that you said ecosystem. So I think about Cloaked as one platform, one ecosystem, with the idea that how do we start from your past to your present and your future? So all of our features kind of come out in all of them. And I don't want to get into all the features, but give you kind of a top line understanding that we want to chip away at the problem everywhere it is. So from the past, you kind of mentioned some of the key ones, data removal, identity theft insurance. We also have dark web monitoring. But these features are really trying to tackle your digital footprint. What's out there? How do we clean it up, both through programmatic means and legal means? And in case something goes wrong, we have insurance, $1 million insurance plan to help cover in terms of some sort of incident, a scam, identity theft. But it really comes into flavor of you've made issues in the past, mistakes, including myself. My data's out there, whether I purposely did it or not. Let's start cleaning that up. But we can't stop there. A lot of companies stop there and just say, let's start cleaning your data. But it's not a silver bullet. Your data can't be cleaned forever because if you keep putting your data out there, then it's just going to keep popping up and you have to keep cleaning. It's just never ending cycle. So we pair that with kind of thinking about the present. Well, there's scams, spam, there's phishing, there's things that compromise you in the moment. So how do we detect and prevent these or stop them in their tracks? So starting with CallGuard, we're moving into SMS and emails and browsing. But with CallGuard, we, for example, if you call me and you're not one of my contacts, an AI agent answers the phone and tries to figure out why you're trying to reach Arjun, what's going on. We've made sure like your Uber Eats or a call from your child's school, these all make it through, but a bad caller or scammer gets caught in that web. And this is where either we know it's a bad actor through their phone number or their habits, or the AI agent tries to figure it out on the fly. But it starts to take that idea of like, how do we help you in the moment? But we transition even from there. How do we fix this going forward? So we like to take this concept of data poisoning. So all this data about you exists, and it's often built on a few key attributes: your phone number, your email, your address, your name. But even one is all it takes to know everything about you. So, for example, your phone number can leak your name, address, your social security number, your passwords, because you give that same phone number to both the IRS and Domino's. And that's why it's so easy to tie everything about you. So what we've done is we've built technology that allows you to generate aliases that sit on top of your phone number or email or password, soon even credit card. But we can generate a unique phone number for every website or person you meet. So imagine a unique phone number for just Amazon or a date at the bar or a realtor, but and a unique email address for every website you're signing up for. So you can create a unique phone number, email, password, username, soon even credit card just for Amazon. Email, phone number, password for Uber. Phone number for maybe like two guys at the bar. Email for every realtor talking to. These are not meant to be burner. We always think about burner identities. These are meant to be alternative, but not. They're meant to be permanent, but unique to every relationship. And it all works like a password manager, so you don't have to remember everything. And all the texts, calls, emails, transactions come back to you. So it's Cloak standing in front of your information. And why coming back to data poisoning is so important was because now we won't know who's actually Arjun. All these different phone numbers, all these different attributes come back to me, but we also do some good work where it's confusing whether it's me, whether it's you, it might be a friend. Like you're not sure whose data is whose, and it starts to make it a much harder problem to pinpoint me. And that's kind of where we've always thought about it. And we've built some really cool tools to help people realize that problem, but happy to jump into that later. But that's kind of give you an overview of how we built the Cloak platform.
Yeah, I love it. How accessible is it? Do you just download an application onto your phone or onto your laptop, or what's kind of covered and where can you utilize it?
We are a mobile app, iOS, Android. We're a browser extension. We're a web app. So it's trying to be wherever you are, Cloaked is there.
Nice, nice. I love it. And it on iOS and Android as well?
Yeah. Yep. iOS, Android.
Oh, perfect. I'll be downloading it today and playing with it. That sounds fun.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
And then do you guys have any, I'm sure you do, but future upcoming solutions you want to offer users that you can talk about? I saw a few of them on the website as well. Wasn't sure if those are still kind of under wraps, or maybe you can divulge a little bit of info.
Yeah, we've got some stuff under wraps, but at a high level, I can give a kind of overview. So one, as a business, we're headed to think about how do we help not just you, but your family. So we're looking to kind of bring all of Cloak to your family, your family's risk. We're going to be expanding Call Guard into things like SMS Guard into your email. And we've got a big feature which has been talked about for a while. It's been a lot of R&D, but also Cloaked Pay. How do we protect your credit card and debit card and bank transactions? So this is all kind of continuing the footprint of how do we put Cloak in front of your information so that way you don't have to compromise yourself wherever you go. So we're just going to keep expanding these efforts, and we've got some exciting, really kind of privacy forward ways of using AI that I can't quite talk about yet, but we're super excited about that coming later this year. But we're leveraging AI to also think about how do we make the actions and ability for privacy to be possible. Well, AI can help make that easier. So there's always AI for good, AI for bad.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was going to ask about that. When you think about these AI integrations, I know you can't reveal too much, but is it like more informational, like it can tell you stuff and kind of dig deeper, or can it take like any actions for you? Like, is it more like AI agent focused, or what kind of things are you considering?
Well, we're considering both sides. How could AI itself inform you, make you smarter, tell you about things, and say, yeah, that this is the right way of approaching it, or this might be a vulnerability or an incident for you. But the other flip side of the equation is also agentic like styles. We already have, so for Call Guard is a full AI agent. It answers the phone, it acts like an AI agentic system, but it's within the same cloak security perimeter. We don't let any PII data flow in to the agents. And when we think about future actions AI agents could take, we always take a really strong stance for making sure that the AI agent is focused on the work, not focused on collecting the data. So that's something that we kind of always do keep in mind as we're thinking about AI.
Interesting. That's exciting. Yeah, I'll be excited to see how that kind of plays out for you guys for sure. I also noticed that you guys have a cloaked hotline. I thought this was actually kind of cool, also kind of creepy, but kind of cool. Can you like really like call just a number and hear like what data can be found about yourself, like that is public in the public domain? Like, how does that work?
So we absolutely. So we realized one of the things that was really important for the space of privacy and security is that people are feeling the problem, but they don't quite can articulate it. And so we made a really useful, effective tool. We made a hotline, and we got a New York Times billboard. We did a bunch of places. And it was really fun. Where if you call this number, the number is 855-752-5625. If you haven't heard it, 855-752-5625. That number, if you call it, will actually show you how much your number leaks about you. And often we'll see 9 times out of 10, people find out their name, their address, their social security number, passwords. Now, we don't reveal all that data on the phone, but we give you glimpses so you can see, oh, shoot, this is actually my information. And then you can use Cloak to learn more to actually dive deeper and say how we can start cleaning up that footprint.
Oh, that's so crazy. I'm going to have to try that out. That's really cool. I imagine that's something that's really popular with a lot of your users, huh?
Oh, absolutely. It's a big learning experience, but it's a huge activation for us because what it does is people say, "Oh, all right, like it's worse than I thought." People think, "Oh, my name's out there, etc." But you realize all of this data is tied to your information. Then people get nervous and they say, "Well, all right, like it's time to act. I just can't wait around." And the cool thing is we realize it's like it's might feel a little creepy, but really this is all public data. Cloak doesn't have access to any of this data. We don't have any of this. When you're calling the number, we're just looking up in real time your phone number in a bunch of places and then servicing that data to you. So with that being true, there's no time like the present to say, let's start doing something about it. Otherwise, the problem's only getting worse, especially with AI.
Yeah, what a wonderful marketing tool that is too. Like to get people at like initial use case to call a number and then it tells you essentially you're screwed here, you're screwed there. That's exposed. You need to fix that. And then it's like, oh, like it really gets them involved in what's going on and makes them further want to participate. No, I like that. It's really clever.
You said keywords actually really astute of you. Like involved is the right sentiment because a lot of times security is kind of set and forget. But the problem is the world is much more dynamic. So how do you get people more involved? That's the secret to solving this problem.
Another question, in terms of, encryption, I'm curious, like what some of those layers look like and steps that are taken by Cloak in terms of protecting user data. Obviously, when people are trusting any other source when it comes to data, it's also telling them that they're going to protect them against data. They want to know that that's also protecting them against data in case something were to happen. Like, what are some of the things you guys do to keep Cloaked encrypted and protect data, and the steps you take that, frankly, probably other companies should take as well?
Well, I joke that Cloaked tries to practice security of Fortune 50 company while being a startup, and we've done a lot of good work. And it's because we built Cloaked from the ground up with security and privacy in mind. It's a lot harder for businesses later. Now the goal is that Cloaked will help them in the future, but the idea is that you have to be thoughtful from the very get-go. So starting from Cloaked's very beginning, when you sign up for an account, let's say you sign up later today, you may not realize it, but we create a unique database for every single user. Why that's important is that we actually separate the data out from our existing core database. That allows us to actually say that your data is truly yours, not ours. You have a separation key handshake to get access to the system. But and this is where you might have heard about these big breaches for some of these top password managers. It's because they have one centralized system. So that separation makes a multi-vector attack problem. The secondary aspect is the data itself is zero knowledge encrypted. So we use ZK encryption so that way your data is encrypted by your key and only you could decrypt your data. So we start at the very core foundation, your data is separate, and then that data itself is encrypted. We then move forward like Cloak yourself as a business. We take security very seriously. We're not a big B2B business, but we are also SOC 2 Type 2. So the way we operate, the way we protect, we've taken that very seriously. We've also gone ahead and worked with a lot of different audits to really make sure that Cloak can say that we've done good work in the way we're approaching our systems. And then we've also written a white paper. So there's a white paper you can read about that shows how we've built off Cloaked. So as a security company, we have to make sure we're taking all these things seriously. And but as a startup, we're also making sure that we're matching the reality of the world, where it's we have a vision where the world's headed, and we're making sure that everything we're doing can make sure we meet customer demands, but starts marching towards a better vision.
Excellent. Where can people go to keep up with all these things that you guys are doing? Do you guys have pretty comprehensive information on a blog or socials? Do you have community as well? Like, where can people go if they want to dive a bit deeper?
First, our white paper's all on cloak.com. We do post on LinkedIn and we post our socials, but not as deep about the security side. We're looking to be much more active about that now. But our Discord is often a very common place where we dig much deeper into security, conversations about features, how are we approaching AI and security. Our Discord community is often everybody loves to dig deeper there. So it's been our kind of most active there, but we do post on all of our socials. We post our own blog regularly on cloak.com. And that's a mixture of good content for people who don't know and some deeper content. And then obviously we make sure our audits and our things are things you can request or download.
Excellent. And where can people keep up with your guys' timeline or roadmap? I know you guys have a lot of things that are coming up. What can you tell users in terms of what they should be expecting here in the rest of 2025?
Absolutely. I think we've always have a fun challenge for our roadmap because we've got so many features coming out. Discord is always our number one where we are announcing things much more in advance. And then pay attention to us on X and Instagram. We're definitely posting there. And on our homepage for cloak.com, we're always pushing out new features, new things coming up. So I'd say any of those places wherever you consume, we're trying to be there. If you want cutting edge bleeding, our Discord is where we've got a few thousand that are very proactive people who are always digging in. But yeah, that's and I know a lot of maybe your audience are on Discord, so that'd be a good place to join.
Yeah, totally. And any events or conferences maybe that you guys are attending here in the fall? Any engagements, places where people can maybe meet you guys in person and learn more?
I'd say this fall, I'm not too sure. I think we're doing joining a couple events, but we'll definitely share with you and maybe some updates of where we're headed in the coming year. But we definitely tend to join RSA or join DEF CON. We were just at DEF CON. So I'm not sure for the rest of the fall schedule. I know we're kind of heads down the next few months to really push out some of these things closing out the year, but happy to share some updates after.
Yeah, definitely keep me updated. We'd love to meet up in person at some point. If we're aligned on any events or conferences in the near future, maybe we can do a part 2 to this as well. Maybe in person would be a lot of fun.
Oh, I'd absolutely love to do it in person. That sounds great.
Absolutely. And then where can people get in contact with you if they have questions or want to collaborate or work together? Do you have a LinkedIn or an X?
Well, you can always reach me on LinkedIn. Sorry, on X, x.com/ACENARIO, a scenario. Or you can just go keep it cloaked. Either one, you'll get in contact with me. So I'm actually trying to connect and get you an actual cloaked phone number. So you can always you can always reach me via socials or reach us on LinkedIn at Cloaked. But what's always fun is you can also reach me directly. So I can actually generate a number, what I'm doing right now, generate a number just for your audience. So I just made this number. The number is 334-384-1789. So that number, if you text it, I've disabled calling, but I can enable calling. It'll actually reach me directly. And so your audience can actually text or call me and reach me. Calls will go to a voicemail, but I'm always happy to engage directly. I actually have a number on my Twitter profile, and I get customers or people who text me, and it goes right to my phone, and I respond directly. So either this one I just made or the one on my Twitter profile, you could absolutely go and visit and just message me directly.
That's so cool. Yeah, we'll put all the links and everything in the description for the episode below, and also we'll put the number as well, so people can reach out directly. That's really cool.
Absolutely, for sure.
Awesome, Arjun. I appreciate it, man. This has been great. Appreciate the conversation and telling us more about what you guys are focused on and working on at Cloaked. I think privacy and data are something people need to pay more attention to, especially as technology continues advancing forward and the internet continues to evolve, and so do the threats and the vectors and the ways that people can get after you. So appreciate all the work you guys are doing, the solutions, the features. Again, let me know as things continue to build out for you guys and Cloaked and your ecosystem over time. And let's definitely do this again.
All right. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. I enjoyed it today.